squeaks, gentle breeze, you remind me of days in my childhood.
Imagine a teenager from a modest town stepping onto a national stage and instantly silencing a crowd with a voice that felt both timeless and brand new. In the northern English town of Wigan, Lancashire, that's exactly what happened when 14-year-old Lucy Thomas walked into the spotlight in 2018. From that moment on, her career began to arc in unexpected ways. This is the story of how she moved from an audition room to standing ovations across continents. I'm reporting on how one young vocalist turned classical training, social media savvy, and raw emotion into a journey that's still unfolding. What followed was far from simple. Along the way, Lucy navigated early public exposure, questions about genre, and the inevitable pressures of rising fame. Over the next 6 sections, I'll walk you through her roots, the breakout moment, her hidden struggles, major accomplishments, and what lies ahead. By the end of our report, you'll have a clearer sense of not just what she achieved, but how and why her story matters beyond a single. Long before the lights and cameras, Lucy Thomas's voice was echoing through local halls and quiet practice rooms in Wigan. Born on 21 February 2004 in Wigan, Lancashire, she began singing at a remarkably young age. By 7, she was already in formal lessons, steadily honing a classically trained foundation that would later set her apart. In the small-town environment, she entered local competitions and gradually built a reputation for delivering clear yet powerful renditions of songs well beyond her years. That early phase was quiet but critical, a time of discipline, early disappointments, and the backstage work most audiences never see. Her family supported her ambitions, and she learned early that talent alone wouldn't be enough without dedication and focus. 2025-2026 Mabumb. The significance of those roots cannot be overstated. While many young singers emerge via viral clips or instant internet fame, Lucy's starting point was firmly grounded in the traditions of classical crossover and vocal theater. She wasn't just a kid who could belt out a song. She was a young artist trying to understand phrasing, tone, and emotional delivery. The audience today sees the final performance. They rarely see the nights of rehearsal, the frustration when a take didn't land, or the internal debate about whether to pursue classical versus a more pop direction. That foundation would soon pay off when the timing was right, and the next chapter of her story shows exactly how the world first took notice. The moment the spotlight found Lucy was as dramatic as it was unexpected. In 2018, at just 14 years old, she appeared on the ITV talent show The Voice Kids UK and left the judges, and the audience, speechless. She reached the semi-finals of the competition, but more importantly, her performances resonated on a level that suggested this wasn't just another TV contestant. It was the question of how far this voice could go. What she sang and how she sang changed the expectations around a young performer from Wigan. During that run on the show, viewers remarked on the clarity and control she showed, especially for someone of her age. At the same time, the exposure raised new questions. Could a classical-leaning singer thrive in the broader pop and musical theater world? Would the very youth of her rise be a burden or a competitive advantage? The auditions gave her a national platform, but they also started the clock on public curiosity. As one judge noted, this voice was different, and public reaction surged on YouTube-style clips and social feeds. The challenge for Lucy became not just to perform well, but to sustain momentum. What people saw during the audition was only the visible tip of a deeper career shift that was already in motion. The next section reveals how that shift became something bigger than a TV moment. From a television stage to major venues, the transition for Lucy Thomas was swift and in many ways unexpected. After her TV appearance, she didn't just fade back into local gigs. She began performing widely, recording multiple albums, and building a digital following that far outpaced typical early career artists. Her voice, described as pure and emotionally resonant, drew attention across genres. One key moment came when she tackled the legendary Hallelujah, and her version racked up millions of views, proof that her appeal was global, not just national. But it wasn't all uplifts and applause. Behind the scenes, there were questions about branding, genre alignment, and how to present a young vocalist with classical training in a market saturated by pop stars. The industry buzz included speculation. Was she going to remain in the crossover niche, or pivot fully into mainstream? Some conservative critics wondered whether her youthful image would limit longevity. Others pointed out how quickly her digital metrics had grown. Amidst that, Lucy continued releasing albums yearly, from Premiere in 2019 onward, and making public appearances, culminating in a West End debut in October 2024. By the time she stood on a prominent stage accompanied by a full orchestra, Lucy Thomas had moved beyond the audition phase into serious professional territory. That leap, moving from TV exposure to a performing artist with a growing catalog and live audience reach, is the turning point. Yet the next chapter reminds us that even a rising star faces unseen pressures and internal crossroads. Even the most polished performance carries a shadow of unseen struggle, and for Lucy Thomas, that shadow loomed large. The industry she entered expects instant success, yet punishes missteps, and for someone so young, the balance between youth and professionalism can be delicate. While the public sees accolades and growing viewership, what they don't see are the choices she made behind the scenes, giving up certain social freedoms, navigating the tension between classical discipline and commercial viability, and managing expectations that sometimes felt premature. Training from age 7 meant that childhood was partially spent on vocal drills rather than play. As she moved into teenage years, the question shifted. Were her peers still doing normal things while she was prepping for the next performance? Reports indicate that Lucy's schedule ramped up rapidly after her TV exposure, which is standard for talent show alumni. But for someone with classical leanings, it also meant broadening her stylistic range and rethinking her brand. Some online observers speculated about fatigue, or whether she'd ever get a break from the cycle of recording, touring, and streaming. Although no major controversy has surfaced, the demands of early fame pose risks: identity confusion, genre limbo, and pressure to rapidly mature. Furthermore, the music market's expectations shift quickly. What's celebrated today may be overlooked tomorrow. Lucy's team had to decide: maintain the strong vocal identity she built, or chase trending styles. That internal debate, while rarely public, is central to her story, and many aspiring artists overlook the stretches of quiet growth between visible events. The next section covers the payoff of those years of effort, when the applause truly resonated. From obscurity to applause, the moment when Lucy Thomas's name began to ring in concert halls rather than only talent show credits marked a new chapter. Her discography is impressive for someone her age, debuting with Premiere in 2019 and following with albums such as Encore, Timeless, Destiny, and Beyond. Her YouTube channel gathered hundreds of millions of views, and her West End debut in 2024 confirmed she was more than a viral sensation. The performance world noticed her, critics praised her, and audiences responded. A standout live moment involved performing in front of a full orchestra and a packed house, where the reaction turned from courtesy clap to genuine standing ovation. That kind of public affirmation is rare, especially for someone who began so young and outside the mainstream pop pipeline. It signals not only vocal ability but artistic maturity and audience connection. For Lucy, this meant the transition from promise to realized artist. The broader takeaway for viewers: talent plus persistence plus smart strategy can lead to opportunities beyond initial breakout moments. Her story also offers lessons for any creative professional. Build your foundation quietly, use exposure wisely, and don't confuse overnight success with long-term legacy. Even now, her career trajectory continues to climb, What stands out is that she has both the credentials and the momentum. But what's next? And how will she navigate the next evolution in her career? That brings us to our final section. The next chapter for Lucy Thomas is not just about more albums or larger venues. It's about evolving as an artist while preserving what made her unique. As of now, she's exploring cross-genre collaborations, new musicals, and global touring. Her move into the West End demonstrates that she is not content to remain within the safe boundaries of a youth star or niche vocalist. Instead, she's stretching into broader artistic territory. From a broader perspective, her story matters because it challenges a common narrative. That talent show exposure is a flash in the pan. Lucy's path shows that exposure is merely a starting point, and what follows is far more important. Her journey underscores the value of early preparation, genre flexibility, and strategic career decisions. For viewers and aspiring artists alike, the question becomes, what would your breakout moment lead to, and what would you do once the spotlight hits you? As Lucy moves forward, she will face fresh choices. How to keep her voice central while expanding her repertoire, how to balance commercial imperatives with artistic integrity, and how to maintain authenticity in an industry built on reinvention. The final thought for viewers: when you witness a performer moving from audition room to applause, you're seeing more than a talent in motion. You're witnessing a decision to keep going when everything says stop. Lucy's next act is still unwritten, but the foundation is strong.